I'll tell you. The reason why my wife married me was because, and the reason why she still stays with me after, let's see, 90, 2010, 34 years, is she says, you make Krishna consciousness fun. So that's what I try to do. So here's my proposal. You have two options. I could answer questions. We can have like a townhouse meeting. You shoot me questions, I'll try to answer. Or else, I'll tell the story of Damodar. Who wants questions and answers? Raise your hand. Okay, we got 1, 2 people. I guess everybody else wants the story of Damodar. Okay, boss, I need some more of this ginger brew. Me too. You too? Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can do questions after to keep everybody happy. And the questions can be on anything. You know, no question is out of bounds. So my name is Nirantara Das. I joined this movement in 1973, as I was telling these nice young people, that the reason I joined this movement was the food. I had gotten a book. I liked the book. I had gotten a second book. I liked that too. And after reading the first 6 chapters of the life of Krishna, I closed the book and said, I'm joining this movement. Then I met a girl at a college, and I come to find out she had been a devotee for a couple of years. So she would go to class, come back, answer my questions, go to class, come back, answer. By the end of the day, I said, can you take me to the temple? And she goes, oh, okay. So we go to the temple, and she gave me beads and showed me how to chant. And when we got to the temple, Prabhupada was there and was like, wow. I said to myself, now I have found the modern Jesus. Prabhupada looked so majestic. He was glowing. He was just, I said, this is it. I have found it. Then they gave me the food. Whoa. Now, I hate spinach. My mother would make spinach. I spit it out. But they gave me this much spinach. I ate that spinach. I jumped up. Give me more. Give me more. They said, got to come back tomorrow. So I decided, oh, man, there's nowhere in New York I can get this food. It's so good. Forget about it. So I was coming to the temple as often as I can. That was in end of March. And by July, I still remember, July 15th is when I showed up with my suitcase. And I said, I'm joining. Best decision I ever made. Second best decision was at the end of 1979, December, when my future wife called me on the phone. I was in the New York temple. I pick up the phone. Do you remember me? I go, who is this? And she said her name, because we had met 2 years earlier. That's another long story. She says on the phone, do you want to marry me? Now, I was like, I didn't know what to say. So I said, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. So at 2 weeks, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and Krishna gave me the answer. Idiot, marry her. Second best decision I ever made. So that's a little bit about me. My name is Nirantara Das, and I travel to different places singing. Sometimes I play guitar and sing songs that my wife and I have written. And usually I am preaching to Indian people from India. So this is a real rare treat for me to speak to a non-Hindu audience. Like I sometimes go to high schools and colleges, same thing. But 95% of what I do since 94, so for the past 20 years, has been Indian. So I'm really Hinduized. But it's a rare treat when I get to be with Americans. And Caribbean man. All right. So, before I tell the story, I just want to add one thing. I always say, when does a girl look the prettiest? When she smiles. But beyond that, anybody, no matter how ugly or whatever, when they chant Krishna's name, they look beautiful. A chanter, that's the most beautiful person. I always say there's two kinds of people, chanters and ranters. So, you all chanted nicely and you couldn't see yourself, but I was looking at you while you were chanting. You looked beautiful, every one of you. So, it's actually, today is the day, 5,000 years ago, that this pastime of Damodar, everybody say? Damodar. Took place. This is Diwali, right, today? This is one of the most popular, if not most popular, Hindu festival. Like in India today, and right now, there are fireworks, and it's like the biggest day for them. The day that Lord Ram came back to his kingdom victorious with his wife and Hanuman and his brother Lakshman, and they returned to their city after being exiled for how many years? 12? I thought it was 13, 14. Anyway, between 12 and 14 years. Haven't done my homework lately. They had been banished to the forest. I think it's 13. And now they've come back triumphant. And so the people greeted them with lamps. So Diwali. Actually, the technical term is Deepavali, lighting of lamps. So right now in all Hindu homes, they've got candles all over, all day long. They're just burn, and they have fireworks, and it's actually New Year's for them. For Hindus, this is New Year's Day. So on this day, Krishna's mother, what's her name? Yashoda. Yashoda, she's the queen of the village. Her husband, Nanda Maharaj. All right, he's the king of this cowherd community. They got lots and lots of cows. But if she's the queen, you got to think she must have some special cows, right? You got to make the queen feel special. So she did. Yashoda had special cows, and they would eat this special grass, and by eating these cows eating that grass would give the milk a specific, wonderful flavor. So on this day, Diwali day, Yashoda is churning the yogurt to make butter. Now, why was she doing this? Because she has so many servants, she can just snap, hey, you. No. Previous to this, Krishna and his elder brother Balaram had been doing big nonsense. They're about 3 or 4 years old, Krishna and Balaram, and they have been doing mischief in the neighborhood. They have been going to the neighbors' homes, stealing their butter and yogurt, and if they didn't like the butter and yogurt, they would sometimes pass stool and urine in the person's home. Then Krishna and Balaram would go to the little babies and pinch them to make them cry. Yes, Krishna and Balaram are naughty. Now the neighbors, they would go to Krishna's mother, what's her name? Yashoda. She had to keep everybody awake. Okay, spot quiz. They would go to Yashoda and complain, your son has done this. So Yashoda would say, well, why don't you hide your butter and yogurt so Krishna can't find it? They would say, nah. Your son has some special effulgence. Even if it's a dark room, by his effulgence, he can see where the butter and yogurt is. You got to do something. Actually, these neighbors, they weren't really complaining. They just wanted an excuse to see Krishna and Balaram. So on the pretext of complaining, because see, this is Vrindavan. It's a special place. Vrindavan is that place where everybody doesn't love Raymond. Everybody loves Krishna. That's Vrindavan. Everybody has their husband and their own children, and they love them like anything. But everybody in Vrindavan has special attraction for Krishna. So Yashoda was thinking on this day, there must be something wrong with the butter and yogurt Krishna is getting at home, and that's why he's going to the neighbors causing a disturbance. So she was using that milk from those cows. She was going to make special butter and yogurt for her beautiful son, Krishna. So she's churning and working very hard, doing it herself. All of a sudden, Krishna has been taking a nap. He wakes up, comes to his mother, and stops her, and indicates that he wants her to feed him the breast milk. Even though he's like maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, still he's drinking the breast milk. It is said, even scientists agree, that if a child drinks the mother's breast milk, that child becomes very, very powerful and strong and immune from lots of diseases. So Yashoda stops the churning, takes Krishna on her lap, starts to feed him, and she's looking at his beautiful face, and she's smiling, because every mother loves their little baby, right? And if your baby was Krishna, you would love it even more. And while she was churning the butter, she was singing songs, and the songs were songs that she composed all about Krishna's previous incidents, how Krishna killed the Putana and this, and different incidents. Yashoda had made them into songs, so she was singing about her Krishna. So she's feeding Krishna and looking at his beautiful face. All of a sudden, she hears a noise from the kitchen. The milk is boiling over on the oven. And anyone who's worked in the kitchen, cleaning a stove or oven where milk has spilled, it takes a lot of work. You got to scrub and scrub. So Yashoda wants to take care of the milk boiling over, so she has to stop Krishna from eating, puts him down, and goes to take care of the milk that's boiling over on the stove. Well, Krishna is not happy, and he gets angry, and he has false tears in his eyes, and he bites his lip. He's angry. He takes a stone and throws it at the pot, and it breaks, and all the butter and yogurt comes down. And Krishna's not done. He steps in the butter and yogurt, and now he knows that he's done nonsense, so he goes away. But he stepped in the butter. He goes to a place in the house, and he's eating butter and yogurt secretly. After Yashoda comes back from taking care of the milk on the stove, she sees the mess, and she understands, oh, my child is very intelligent. After doing this nonsense, he's run away. So Yashoda has a stick. She's going to teach Krishna a lesson with the stick. And she can tell where Krishna has gone because of the footprints of the butter footprints. So she follows the trail of Krishna's footprints. And she turns the corner, and there is Krishna. And he's standing on top of this big wooden mortar that's used for grinding spices. And he's on top, and because they have the butter and yogurt hanging in big containers hanging from the ceiling, and he's been able to reach up there. He's taking the butter and yogurt and giving it to the monkeys. At the same time, Krishna's like this, looking this way. He knows that any minute his mother's going to come. All of a sudden, he sees her with the stick. Krishna gets shocked, and he sees the stick. So he jumps down and runs, because he doesn't want to get the stick. Nobody wants to get the stick. I got the stick once in Catholic school. I got the ruler, Sister Mary Virgin. I was a real nonsense. And she made me come in front of the class. Stick out your hand. Whack! I didn't cry, though. I was in the 8th grade, I think. You know, because it was boys and girls, so I didn't want to look like a sissy. It hurt, but she whacked me. Anyway, Krishna does not want to get hit with the stick, so he's running. Now Yashoda, she has a thin waist, full hips, nice sized breasts, so it's not easy for her to run, okay? But after some time, she captures him. And when she captures him, Krishna is shaking. And now he's really crying. Before he had false tears, but now he's crying. And Krishna has a pearl necklace. And because he's breathing, really quick breathing, he's afraid of his mother. And he's looking at her crying. And Krishna has mascara in his eyes. And because of the tear, it's running down his face. Yashoda's looking at him with the stick, and she's thinking, well, if I use the stick, maybe that's too much, and it'll create a psychological thing that later on he won't grow up properly. So she throws the stick away. She says, what he did doesn't deserve the stick, but he's nonsense. He's too restless. I got to do something. So she decides to tie him up because she's got work to do. And this is a point. Even you're the mother of God, you have to work. It's not that the mother of God is sitting back, oh, let's watch TV, right? No. The mother of God has to work. She has lots of chores to do in the house. So she decides, I'm going to tie him up to that wooden grinding mortar. So she asks one of the servants, bring me some rope. So she tries to tie up Krishna, but she's short by 2 fingers. So she tells the servant, bring some more rope. More rope is added, but it's still 2 fingers too short. Meanwhile, the neighbors are now coming and they're laughing and smiling because they can see what's going on. All the rope in the house was added, and it was still 2 fingers too short. Yashoda is like, she's exhausted. She's perspiring. The flowers in her hair and the comb in her hair have come down. She's expended all this energy, and she can't tie up Krishna. And all the neighbors are also smiling and laughing. And even Yashoda starts to laugh. She realizes something's going on here. I can't tie up my son. And when Krishna sees that his mother has now become exhausted, then Krishna allows her to tie him up. So, because he saw, all right, she's exhausted, now I'm going to let her tie me up. So Yashoda ties up Krishna, and then Yashoda goes about doing her housework. And Krishna is thinking, my mother thinks I am now tied up, that I can't do any more nonsense. I will show her. And so Krishna looks out into the courtyard and he sees 2 trees. He goes, oh yes, those 2 trees. I know about those 2 trees. My great devotee Narada, he once cursed these 2 demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva. And he cursed them to become trees. And Narada wants me to deliver them. So Krishna starts crawling. And while he crawls, he pulls that wooden grinding mortar. And it gets stuck between the 2 trees. And Krishna pulls with great strength. And the trees fall down. And when they fall down with a big crash, these 2 demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they offer prayers to Krishna. And they pray to him for pure devotion. And Krishna says, yes, you can return to your homes. They had been living as trees for on earth years, many hundreds of years. Many hundreds of years they were in those tree bodies. But now they were allowed to go to their kingdom and the heavenly planets. And Krishna said, yes, you will remain devoted and you will eventually go to my abode in the spiritual world. Now, there are a few things that need to be understood about this Leela. So, why the 2 fingers always too short? There's a reason why. Krishna was showing not just Yashoda, everyone, you cannot tie me. Not by your work, not by your meditation, not by your mental speculation. You want to tie me? You have to tie me with love. And this is, for me, this was something that just brought it home, because before becoming a devotee, before I realized Krishna, my favorite song was, all you need is love. Wump, 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 wump. You know that song? That was my theme song. And I was looking for love. But Dina didn't love me. Neither did Michelle and Linda. They all said, bye-bye, loser. I was looking for love, and I was thinking, I have so much love to give, but nobody wants my love. Then Prabhupada came, and he wrote in his books, yes, everybody's looking for love, but you're loving the wrong thing. Prabhupada was writing, you should learn how to love Krishna. So when I read that, I said, this is my religion. The religion that teaches the only thing that God really wants from any of us is our love. I love that concept. Later, a few years later, I was in Atlanta, and Prabhupada was giving the lecture. This was 1975, so I said, I'm going to ask a question. So I raised my hand. Prabhupada, what pleases you the most? And everybody was thinking he was going to say this, he was going to say that. He closed his eyes, he tilted his head and said, when you love Krishna. And everybody was like, what? They couldn't believe. It's recorded, it's on the tape. I got credit for that one. I'm the one who asked Prabhupada that question. Prabhupada told me, so I take that as the instruction of my guru. I have to learn how to love Krishna or God, because that's the only thing he cares about. Love. And when I preach in the high schools, and like every year, I go to this one Catholic high school. They always invite me. And so when I'm preaching Krishna consciousness to this high school, I always start with, what did Jesus say? Jesus said, love God with your whole heart, your whole, you know what I'm talking about. I was raised Catholic, so there was one thing I remembered from my catechism classes, was that question the Roman soldier asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, love God. He didn't say love me. He said, love God with your whole soul, your whole heart, your whole mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So I use this exact thing when preaching to that Catholic school, and I tell them, love your neighbor as yourself. We really love our neighbor, even our cow neighbor. Or we don't kill animals because we see them as our neighbor. I don't go any further on that. I don't like, you guys. I'm all positive. But I want them to understand Jesus is saying exactly what Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, and Krishna, our whole philosophy is based on love of God. So the two fingers meant nothing can tie up God or capture God other than your love. And we may think, but I'm so insignificant. Doesn't matter. Here's the thing. Why is that? Because we are all individuals. According to the Bhagavad Gita, we are eternally individual persons. We're not this body, but you that you haven't seen yet. Not the you see in the mirror. And trust me, when you get to my age, you're glad you're not your body. Okay? So the soul inside the body, that's eternal. It's a person. You always were a person. You're a person now. You will always be an individual person. So what does God relish? Why do we exist? We exist to exchange love with God. And what is that love? That love is, by my free will, I choose, I want to love you, I want to serve you. If there's no free will, you can't have love. That's the whole thing. Just like my relationship with my wife. What makes it so wonderful is she chooses to stay with me. She chose me. She wanted to be with me and wants to be with me and works hard so that I can travel around the world and preach. She supports me. She could have said, I want you to get a job, bozo. No, she says, I'll work, you go out and preach. That's why I'm here today. She's in Century City in Los Angeles, working long hours. So that's her love, by her free will. That's her love. So God is the same way. When you, an individual with free will, choose, Krishna, I want to love you, that is what he's relishing. That choice that you want, because God is also a person. I've asked several of my God brothers, what was the most significant thing you learned from Prabhupada? They said this, that God is a person. So, everybody chant Hare Krishna for me, please. Come on. So that's the main thing that the two fingers indicated. And the other thing is that Yashoda's love for her son, she doesn't know, here's the thing, she doesn't know that Krishna is God. If she thinks that Krishna is God, she could never tie him up. Because if you think someone's God, how are you going to be? You're going to be like this, reverence, there won't be intimacy. Like, did you ever see the movie Wizard of Oz? So when I am the omnipotent Oz, and they're like, that's how most people think of God, right? They're afraid of him. Oh, I'll smite thee down, right? So Yashoda, there's no conception of God. All she knows is this is my son. But the thing is, he is God, because God is cool. Krishna